our Amsterdam contingent.
Yes.
Great to see you guys.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
It's going to be very powerful there in Amsterdam. May it be powerful for all of you.
Yolanda, and I saw El Marie. I don't know who else is on, so it's great to see all of you. Savitri and Sachemanu. Okay.
All right. So we're going to go over today. This is our introduction. So we're orienting all of you, and this is open to people to participate that are beyond the 80 or so who've signed up for this program. So it's also an introduction to why we do these silent retreats and what is the nature of this work that can make this a very powerful and unique event. You could call it an adventure, but be clear about adventures. Although there's a lot of romantic notions about adventures, they are ordeals. They have a peril along the way as we find out those things we didn't know. So too is this an adventure. But where we're going here, adventuring towards, is the innate reality we already are. So now we can't do this dive by ourselves. So what we do is we evoke this force that comes to the world that is here now, actually, but its source, we're coming right to the source of that force, which we call the Sat, which in Sanskrit means truth. And after 9 years on the path, dedicated my whole life to this journey, I discovered this principle. And I discovered that it had been working in me all along. I realized something that had already been there. So what will happen here to help us in this adventure is this principle that already brought you here to this moment, to hear this, to participate in this, to dive yourself deeply into this possibility. And the possibility is to make real that which right now in the programming of our normal, ordinary human life seems unreal. This eternal principle that never dies, was never born. It's always here. It is the essential quality of the reality of your very existence, of your knowing of your own existence. It will not die. It will be with you always. It can never leave you. Once we begin to tap into this source, once we tap to move into alignment with this support, that will take us to places we could not have done ourselves. We will be taken on a journey of consciousness into the depths of our very being, into the purpose and the organizing principles of this world we were born in the middle of, to discover, to find out, to find the treasure, the ultimate secret of our own reality. All right, now that sounds very romantic and beautiful.
That sounds very poetic.
But it really gets down to a lot of shit. It gets down to the ordeal. It gets down to the stuff that obscures us from accessing that. And this is the nature of the work. We put the focus on what is in the way. Because once you see it, once you recognize it, once you begin to meet it and change its influence on your life, the very truth of you gets revealed that much more. The reality of what you already are, your purpose in existence, the reason you're alive becomes more available to you. So these are short events, ordeals that takes us into a process that our ego would not normally seek in order to come out through the nozzle into a new and deeper and more profound relationship with what is already the internal unchanging truth that's with us. So this is our purpose. All my work is organized around empowering you to travel this journey, not only by being able to become aware of this principle that lives you already, that motivates you to the spiritual path, that's motivated you in all your lives to be here at this moment, but to guide you, to give you information, and have opportunities to interact with each other to a small extent in this program to discover the fellowship of what we are doing together now in the collective consciousness, to find others who have an aspect of what you already have, but are able to articulate it for you. So you can hear and find those perspectives that allow you to see the same thing within yourself. Okay, now, this is a planned adventure. We have safeguards, we have seat belts, we have things that are in place to have your greatest possibility of coming through with the best benefit possible. Considering all ordeals are usually enriching. While you're in the ordeal, you may not have a clue, or it may be just the opposite of what you would hope or what it seemed to be that I'm promising right here, into something that you cannot know immediately. It takes time. But I assure you, many have traveled with this. We've been doing this for 20 years and have discovered, as I'm saying here, the wonders of the possibilities you already are. And that is my wish for this program, for all of us and for all of you. My intent, actually, more than a wish. It's my intent. It's why I do this again and again. And it's why many of you do this again and again. How many of you have done a silent retreat before? Just raise your hands. Go put your hands up.
There's a lot of new people that are coming to us today.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So there's something addictive about adventure. That even when you come out of it, you have your milkshake and your apple pie and everything's good and you've got your tea and you're feeling comfortable, that keeps bringing you back to doing it again. So it is something because there's a truth that's living you that has you do this. We're here for you, the person of you, to get to know that truth and to become a collaborator and a partner with its work in you and in your life. All right. So now Sajamaya is going to talk about the structure, talk about the promise we make with ourselves and with each other to honor the opportunity of this vessel that will hold this for all of you.
Right. Well, first of all, I want to say hi to Ma Shakti. I'm really happy to see you here. And Galen, it appears you have made it. Am I correct? Where did he go?
Yep, I got an arch.
Move to the next screen. So for those of you who are in the area or close by, we've had 3 days of storms. So we have about 2 feet of snow here. And Galen just drove across country to get here. So
he had his own adventure.
He had his own adventure. All right. And I also want to welcome all of you who are here to a 4-day for the first time. I think almost 2/3 or maybe 3/4 of the people here also I'm going to be embarking on the GTP adventure. So I wish you well. Normally we would be in India for this adventure, but this will be different. All right. So what we're going to do right now is go over the guidelines that support you in having the most valuable in-home retreat that you could possibly have. And many of you have heard this before, but it's new for some of you. All right. The following guidelines are meant to assist you and your fellow participants with holding the integrity of this vessel, so the intent of this program can be realized.
Did you want to go over the schedule first?
Can I?
Okay.
To ensure a serene and harmonious environment, please observe the following guidelines. Make sure that the location in your house where you will be undisturbed for each session. This includes pets and family members, if at all possible. Position your computer in such a way that you're not backlit. Otherwise, you look like a celestial being, but we don't see your face. If a phone is being used, make sure it's stabilized during each session so it doesn't fall over. Have the intent during the 4 days to remain inward and outwardly silent as much as possible. Some of you are in situations where that's more difficult. Just be quiet inwardly. That's where it counts. review this retreat schedule, which we'll go briefly over, and show up at least 10 minutes early online. Any problems or questions involving the broadcast need to be sent to, Jeffrey, are you putting this up, Geetananda? newdharma.audiovisual@gmail.com. Now we are kind of computer experts, but we can't debug your computer, but we can hopefully handle any Zoom issues or sound quality, etc. Any problems or questions involving small groups need to go to Satyapriya. And we're going to, it's at marians@hotmail.com, and we'll put that up there so that you have that. Okay. I'm going to go over the schedule just very, very briefly because we're dealing with, I think, 5 time zones.
3.
So, no, because I got Hugh and Nella here too.
Oh, Australia.
So everybody has their schedule. Please review it. Basically, today is the first day. We do this time is orientation. Then the 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is a trainer-led meditation. And 9 to 11 is our first 2-hour sit. Tomorrow we start at 6 to 8 Pacific Standard Time. Then 11 to 1, we will have a talk. 4 to 6, trainer-led meditation or sitting, and then a silent sitting. On Saturday, we start off as usual, 6 to 8 a.m. silent sitting. Then from 9 to 10:30, again Pacific Standard Time, the small groups will all meet, and if you have not already received the information, you will be receiving the information on your small group, your facilitator, etc., etc. 4 to 6 is a trainer-led sitting, and 9 to 11 a silent sitting. On Sunday, our final day, is 6 to 8 a.m. silent sitting, and 11 to 1-ish is the completion. We usually run over, and because we have a lot of people here on this particular program, there's more likely we'll run over, so you might want to just plan for 2 o'clock. Also, if you're new, Satri encourages people to come up asking questions. That's a big part of the work we do, because your question could be one that somebody else is dealing with also. And it's a way for Satri to do a teaching for everyone.
So I should be clear on that point, is because of the nature, the short amount of time, I won't be interacting with you after my talks until the last day, until day 3. And then you will have already met with your group. So that'll be your arena for bringing forward issues or questions or experiences that you're having into the group, and then addressing them in the Q&A that'll occur after my talk on day 3. We will also open up the room to all of you on the last day at the completion. Okay, go ahead.
All right, perfect. So back to the guidelines. So we have other suggestions. So this is kind of repeat. Show up at least 10 minutes early online. Avoid distractions during the sits. Stay focused on what is happening inwardly. Honor what you are trying to create for yourself during this retreat. Remain inwardly silent and outwardly quiet as possible. During this program, attend to what is going on inwardly in your system. This will empower you to recognize an inner process that may be arising. And we ask people, if you are inclined to do so, start a journal for this period of time in writing, or often people do it on their phones or on their computers, just so you can go back and look. We ask that you conduct no other spiritual practices during the silent sittings without Satri's approval. Avoid alcohol or caffeinated drinks. This is decaf. No drugs except those prescribed. No fasting during the retreat, and no sex or smoking.
And I want to just speak briefly about not conducting any other practices during the retreat. And in this case, I'm suggesting also not conducting practices that you may have learned from our organization, from the people that who teach these things to all of you. I'm doing this because I'm recognizing that these evoke forces from other planes that are not completely aligned with this larger original force that we're bringing in, and that there will be more ease of that force of doing its work through your system if you're not evoking other forces from other teachers or other traditions, or in this case, from even our own tradition. We want you to be simple, silent, still, and in that simplicity, let everything fall away. But what is arising in the moment, which will be varied in its own case, and for you to be the witness, to be present with, to be engaged in what is coming up, because it'll happen automatically. You're not going to have to do anything here. And that's what I want you to get, to step back from trying to fix or bring in a preferred energy or avoid an unwanted energy during this program.
Okay, now we're going to talk about the silent sitting itself, which are 2 hours per sitting. Silent sitting is not necessarily meditation. It's a conscious effort to be still and silent, outwardly and inwardly. So we ask that you do not leave the online retreat during the sit. You may leave the broadcast after Satri has left, and if you're inclined to just sit there afterwards, please do so. For the silent sitting, you can sit on the floor or in chairs. You can recline, but no lying down. Be comfortable, but not so comfortable that you fall asleep. Silence and stillness are interrelated. It's best to move as little as possible, as it helps the silence to build. It also avoids disturbing others on the broadcast. We ask that you not leave to use the restroom, that you do so before the sit, that you bring no drinks except for water to the sit, and no reading or writing during the sits. Notice your reactions, feelings, and thoughts throughout the 4-day. Record these along with any insights, revelations, or realizations. And a reason for that is when you come to the completion, you might have had a huge realization or something, but 2 days later, you can't remember what it is. If you've written it down, there it is for you, or recorded it. Okay, silent sitting exercises. We ask that you be aware of your breath, be aware of the energy in your body, be here now in the present moment. Notice what resists being present. That's a big one. Notice blocks, resistances, pressures, pains. Identify where they are in your body. Put your attention on that location, feeling into the experience until it speaks to you or fades. Notice what's going on in your body. Try to identify its source. The origin is not outside of yourself. And record your insights in a journal. Does anybody have any questions?
Just there is one.
Okay.
Element.
Yes. No,
Nothing.
Yep. Stripped away. That's my recommendation. Each of you do what you can, because I know that some of you are addicted to these little techniques. So it is a stripping away, and we're going back to source, to the very original thing from which all mantras and all effective spiritual power comes from. So we want to get back down to that original pure inner reality, and to tap into the force that comes through this principle we call Sat. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I've asked Satya Priya, to read the small groups piece. Did she get? I sent her an email or a text. Did she get it? Did you read your phone? She didn't get it. Do you want to read that part? You're the expert, girl.
You're the face for the work. So can you?
He's fine. He's bringing her up. Takes a
Okay,
second.
good.
They want you to read it. Yeah. Okay, so
There's
namaste
some point here.
everybody. Can you all hear me?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hey.
So yeah, so
There she
the
is.
small
Is that Durga Ma with you?
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Durga Ma. Hey. Everybody's coming to Washoe. It's exciting. Okay.
so I'm going to read that, but that actually it is in the material that you all received. And so just you can bring your consciousness and awareness to the purpose and the intention of the small groups and some of the logistics that you do need to know. So the small group is a container to put into practice all the teachings that Satori offers in retreats. Such groups offer the opportunity for participants to experience more intimate contact with one another and to feel a sense of support as the Sat force works on you and issues start to arise. It can be a time of great reflection, change, and vulnerability. This process can totally alter our relationship with ourselves and the way we connect to the divine. So all the participants enrolled in the full retreat will be assigned to a small group. So if you're in talks only, you don't have a small group. You will receive an email from your small group facilitator, either today for us in the West Coast and United States, or tomorrow perhaps for those in Europe. So either today or tomorrow, you should get an email from your small group facilitator. If you don't receive any email, please write back to newdharma.office@gmail.com, or you can write back to me. You have that email address, I believe, on your information. Gitananda just put that on the screen as well, miriams@hotmail.com. But please do check your spam folder, because we're seeing more and more that some of even Gmail emails are going to spam folders. So do check that before writing back to us. You are asked to reply back to the facilitator that you received that email. So this way we create a feedback loop and hopefully we don't miss anybody. Refer to the retreat schedule for the day and time of the small group meetings according to your time zone. The small groups are going to happen on Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and that would be 6 p.m. Central European time. So do look at the schedule and pay attention to your time zone. And there is a manual for you in the participants page under materials that for you to really get a better sense of the small groups, and also some important information that you need to know. For instance, you should not be sharing screen with anybody. And we ask that you be in a quiet and safe space, so you all support the group if you don't have animals or people walking around you. So we all create that sacred container together. And lastly, what I have to say is that the small group facilitators just met, and each one of you got the best facilitator you can possibly have. So that's all that I have. So enjoy, and I really hope you use that opportunity to really deepen the process and to a greater truth of what you are. So thank you.
Thank you,
Lovely.
Satyapriya.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so here we are. That's a lot, I understand, but this is like a ritual. You know, you got to bring in the different components for the ceremony, and you have to set up all the, and you do the same thing each time. So what we're doing is actually.
Looked like print these yesterday because
Oh,
this is fun.
we're still hearing us. There we go. We're going to mute you. That was good, but stop. All right. What was I saying?
It doesn't matter.
All right. No, it does. The sacredness of
No, it
what we're
doesn't.
doing is because we are tending together to create a vessel. We have an innate aspect of that truth that lives within us that has a power to make real what it attends to. That reality that arises from that part of us is what strengthens the person of us, the personality, that our nature and all its inclinations to align with that. So sacred ceremony is one of the means by which human consciousness organizes together, be it a tribe or a culture or a world. It is when we begin to honor certain ways of organizing our attention, we become collectively powerful. And it is the same principle in the world everywhere to solve the problem of the pandemic or to show up at work regularly. It is literally an organizing structure that allows us to come into existence. But in this case, it's allowing us to bring into existence that hidden reality that is already there, that we have unwittingly veiled ourselves from or been conditioned and veiled from. So we're engaged in an intentional act, a sacred ceremony together, to create a possibility for truth to manifest in you, each of you, in a way that will leave an irrevocable shift from wherever you are on the journey at any stage that will open up the next possibility for you, be it in your own spiritual development or be it in your ability to be useful for the world. In this arena, we not only empower ourselves, we tap into a greater purpose that's going on in the collective consciousness and become, wittingly or unwittingly, effective instruments and channels for its manifestation. This is not abstraction. This is not lovely philosophy or poetry. This is a statement of fact. In the domain of consciousness, this is experiential truth. And many of you are here know this for yourself, although the mind will always forget it or disavow it or ignore it. It is still already there. Our recovering of our own wisdom to access our own experience that we've already had, where the recognition of what we are is there, we have to continuously remember those moments, or else the ocean of the veiling will overtake us. It's inevitable. It happens every single day, every single week, month, year of your life. These gunas are always coming in, and we get caught in the churn that churns everything, the ocean of samsaras, which makes it so hard to access in a tangible way this part of us that does not churn, that is eternally the same. It becomes our rock of Gibraltar. It becomes the anchor point of our being from which we can create and bring into existence this inherent possibility we were born to manifest. That's why we're alive. That's why we're here together. And it's the purpose of our gathering. So all these are simply conclusions, summaries of what I've gone through and what I have seen so many of you go through. And many of you here are already making that real for yourselves, becoming means by which this can further go to others and into the world. So it's a new consciousness. It's a new humanity that we're opening the space of. We are protecting the children. We're protecting those who carry this new consciousness already as they grow into their adulthood, as they find their own roles in this new order, new world that's trying to come to fruition. It is only a possibility. It is not certain. We are the ones who choose our destiny and create it by those choices. Each of us, this tiny fraction of the world population, are the ones that could actually have this choice. And what is it? It's here, right now, this program, this moment, and every other moment of your life. And this is what we're learning to do, is live in this moment, to be that presence, that essential quality of being that's already here, but has vast depths and dimensions to it. Meeting of which bring you into the realization, the full recognition, revelation, and realization of this truth for yourself. This is why we gather. This is why we're here. For this purpose. So I'm going to continue with the ceremony. But what I've revealed here is the essence of what we're doing and what is being asked of you, invited of you to participate in. To co-create this really, truly, if there's anything serious, this is serious. In that it can shift a momentum in your life that would otherwise take you on a path that will not be able to preserve the same opportunity that would occur if you could take advantage of this possibility. So too is at every moment in our life. We are always correcting. It is always off track, back on track, off track, back on track. That's how you get there. If you're on a venture and you're hiking through woods or mountains or the snow, it's being on track and then most of the time off track, trying to get back onto track. That's the labor. The labor of aligning with a purpose. And as we progress on the journey, our skillfulness in knowing when we're off and when we're on is enhanced. Our discernment that allows us to know in our body the truth of what's arising or the untruth that's arising. It is this compass, this orienting ourselves to the one true North Star of our consciousness, of our being, that we become capable adventurers. We become the captains of the ship that traverses these oceans. We stay true by constantly recognizing when we're not true, so that our destination ends up where what it is ultimate purpose is. The fulfillment of the opportunity of human life. The unique role us humans play in this arena between spirit and matter. These two dimensions cannot resolve themselves unless spirit has a means that can interface also with matter. And we humans are the interface, each of us, with our intelligent self-will, with our capacity to choose, our willingness to let go, our willingness to venture forward. The quality that we play in the working out of the opportunity of the universe actually can only happen with humans. Be it this, the name that may occur on other worlds, I don't know, but the principle is the principle. An interface, a mediation between spirit and matter. We are the arena, we are the battlefield. We are where it is resolved. That's why you matter. That's why each of us matter. And this mattering is not our egos, although our ego is helped by aligning with that. That mattering is when that reality becomes what we are, in how we speak and how we act and what we choose and what we do and what we don't do. So as I speak, I'm evoking the presence. I'm evoking this principle of the embodied Sat force, the Sat person, the new humanity, It is a presence. There's only one presence. Our presence is a derivative of that one presence, but our presence can tap into the strength, the determination, the resolve, and the capacity of that greater presence. So it is incarnated at this moment. And what comes from this presence is its expression. And what is its expression? It's this force, this Shri, Sat Shri force of Satchitananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss, the bliss of being, the delight of being, the Ananda of existing. So through this force, the human in us goes through a transformational process. The littleness of our heart expands to include a love for the world that has no conditions, that just seeks to express itself as the eternal fount of being for other beings of all kinds. Our mind steps out of its small, narrow obsessions and addictions and repetitive patterns and becomes this vast awareness and spaciousness. This universal point of view that allows you to see the play from a vantage point that would be otherwise impossible. Or that gut that drives the ambitions, the fears, the angers, the resentment that lies in our bellies, converts into a channel of this Satchitananda to come through us into existence, empowering us as individuals to be able to take a stand in this outer world of personality and conflict and duality, of the struggle, of the chaos of this endlessly turning ocean, to create sanity, to create peace, presence, love in our body. Our bodies, instead of being in a contracted, eager, longing, addictive patterns of seeking sensations preferred and being repulsed by sensations unattractive or painful, becomes a transformed medium, an alchemy that begins to infuse into the bodies of all beings, allowing for bodies to be renewed or made new, and that the new bodies that come have a new basis for being a body, a new greater alignment with spirit than matter has been possible for matter before. So every part of us becomes the means for this work. So it is useful during this program to be aware of your mind, your head, your heart, your gut, your body. To check in with all those different components. Because there you'll find your piece of the churn, your dark forest to adventure through, your arena of battle, or the discovery of the fields of your dreams. All right. So let us now go through reading the retreat manual. I can't tell you how many times I've read it, and I know you probably how many times you've heard it. But it always bears speaking again. A truth gets obscured. That's why it has to be kept spoken again as an act of remembrance, an act of recovering the original principle for gathering, for being here, for doing this. Okay.
Okay. This 4-day retreat is not only a retreat from the world of demand, distraction, and responsibilities. It is also a retreat from the habit of our egoic self in order to more firmly establish our divine nature. To create value for yourself, a silent retreat requires a commitment on your part to follow the structure and to surrender yourself to the program. It is an opportunity to go more deeply inward and to relinquish, to let go in ways you have not yet done. It is an opportunity to shed the habit of your ego and enter deeply into the field of being that lives you, your eternal self.
Okay, continue.
Continue. Know the Sat. Silence and stillness are the qualities of the Sat and also the means to attaining it. The purpose of this retreat is to introduce you to the Sat by sitting in this silence and stillness. The Sat is the unchanging, eternal reality that is the source of us and of all existence. During this 4-day retreat, the Sat will become more and more present. A force will be released and felt, consciously or unconsciously. This force is called Satchitananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss.
So you're not going to be able to realize the Sat because the Sat is source of all realization. So it's prior, but you'll be able to realize the real. The real is the reality that is here. But how to know this or experience this as a human being, even a very developed spiritual being, is this inability to recognize the Sat from everything else. So often our journey as we move towards the Sat is through all the different experiential dimensions and qualities of consciousness as we arise and ascend or dive deep into the foundations of our identity and of our existence. And these wonders and powers and forces and the beings and principles we meet, all in their own right, seem to be the end of the destination. But there is a true end. And it's not something within the churn even of the spiritual worlds, because the churn of the human life is not the only place where churn occurs. All dimensions, all the way up until this threshold, as we go beyond all of that, does the churn end. And in those moments, what happens there is unspeakable. It's only when you come out of it that you realize you're a new kind of creature, that you're looking through new eyes, you're hearing with new ears, you're experiencing it in ways that wasn't there before. It is a reset that looks like nothing, but it's not even that it looks like nothing. It's unknowable. It cannot be seen. It's not just the spaciousness or the dark, quiet void of your being moving into relationship with itself, resting in that quality of its own psychic being. It is another thing. It's beyond the normal realizations of spirituality that we know as humanity. But it is part of a new spiritual possibility that is now available. So what does this feel like? Well, you can't really describe it, but when you come out of it, this current, this presence is more tangibly there with you. You tap into an unlimited reservoir of presence, of reality, of truth, where in that re-entry, you know you bring with you the indomitable, the irrevocable reality of what you are in truth. So how do we get there? It may not be in these silent sittings that you'll know if you're there or not because of all the shit that comes up and normally when you stop being you. when you stop acting on your thoughts, when you stop being able to distract yourself from your thoughts, when you have other ways of relieving the pressure of your existence are not allowed. That's why silent sitting is like a violation of the human design, which is an endless movements, except for moments of total unconsciousness. We're choosing to stop. We're choosing to stop being in the way we've been habituated to express our being as a human person. But we're not going to be able to do that right away because we've got a lifetime of momentum for thinking and feeling and judging and evaluating and experiencing and all the sensations and experiences of our trauma and our events and our crises and our failures that exist, that we're still holding, that we're still thinking we are. So there's this momentum that is always moving. But what we're inviting ourselves to do, to be this one principle that stops moving, that seeks to be simple, silent, and profoundly still. The stillness, the silence is evidence that the Sat is coming. It's the proof that you're on track. But very soon when that comes, unless we train ourselves just to stay silent and still, will come the Satchitananda, will come this bliss and this realization and this expansion. And then you go running on that turn for a while, and then you come back. That's the opportunity. That no matter how glorious, how wonderful, the insight and the realizations that come, you're coming back to the silent, still simplicity. And that's the opportunity. I know this is more accessible for if we had more time together, like the 9-day, but you'll be able to taste it if you pay attention, if you review this talk, if you review your own journal, you'll begin to get the recognition. Oh, that's what he's talking about. Ah, I know what he said. That's what happened. So, as all adventure, it's a discovery. And you're the one who discovers it. So to know the Sat is an endless journey of constantly coming back to that originating point from which all consciousness arose. All knowing, all experience, all sensation, everything had its origin in that quality we're calling Sat. All right, let's go on.
Okay. The force of the Sat will put pressure on your system. This pressure may expand your awareness and cause spiritual experiences, or you may experience nothing. You may experience blocks, disturbing feelings, or thoughts, or not notice anything at all. This pressure is likely to push to the surface the obscurity, resistance, and barriers to the Sat and its force. These are like debris on the rising plume of an erupting volcano. If this happens, you will have to experience these experiences. Any or all of these can happen.
So the nature of when we strive to be simple, silent, and still, then what we begin to do is we create a new campus, to whatever extent we're able to do, in which what's here with you, what's there with you at that moment, starts arising. It starts wanting to color that canvas because it doesn't know how to be just simple, silent, and still. So the ocean comes in and shows itself. It could be the negative thoughts. It could be the emotional structures. It could be the discomfort and pain in the body, all of which are expressions of the inertia of the habit of you being a doer, a doing, an event of actions, thoughts, feelings, emotions, behaviors, all of it, all the rest of it. It arises then in the field of this quality of presence and being that you touch. And the reason you allow this will happen, first it'll happen mechanically, right? You ever try to stop a river, right? You put something up and you you create a dam to stop the river from going through. What's the river doing? It's constantly trying to come through. It puts pressure on that. Sitting here in silent and stillness. Why in the hell can I be silent and still? It's the resistance to the momentum of a life lived. So it takes time to develop this capacity to not be a blockage, but to be a sieve in which the river flows, but yet all the content gets dissolved, like a filter, a purifying component. When we are in the presence and the simplicity of silence and stillness, whatever arises becomes brought to our attention. Even if we lose ourselves in it, in the moment of our attention, a bit of that structure dissolves. The greater presence, the greater our presence, the greater our capacity to be still and silent, the more we can filter out and dissolve the patterns and tendencies that have lived our life up to now and begin to tap into this pure current directly. So it is inevitable that when you strive for this, you're running against the stream. You're climbing uphill on your adventure. It is a development of a capacity to stay with what arises, to hold it and not get identified with it, to recognize its arising in whatever form it may be, thought, emotions, body sensations, and not to assign in a value, not to give it the usual importance or repulsion and rejection that we assign to these things. We include all in this process as part of the process, as part of the adventure. And in doing so, we become more and more skillful in knowing this thought within ourselves. It becomes a tangible means of maneuvering and coming into life newly. Okay.
Okay. So next we meet the void. There is a shadow side of ourselves, the void. This is a dimension of our nature that is the storehouse of all our avoids, our avoided experiences. In this retreat, you may begin to experience these avoided experiences. This is necessary. These may appear as a familiar negative mood, a depression, or a compulsive pattern of thinking that seems to swallow you. You may feel fearful, anxious, or judgmental, or you may feel irritated or angry. But be alert. These are not ordinary experiences. They are due to the pressure of the thought that is trying to manifest itself in you.
Now be clear, this paragraph is talking about the opportunity of this program. Why? Because of the intention, because of this purpose, because I will be bringing in, and many of you will be bringing in this presence, this current of becoming that's aligned with truth. And so during this time, a number of things happen. First thing, which is the most common, especially for us busy Westerners who fill every minute of our day, is nothing happening. Boredom. Right? I don't want to be here. Boredom is a resistance to being. You feel bored. Nothing is happening. Nothing. I'm in this program. I paid this money. I've been sitting for all these hours. And I'm just uncomfortable. And all the rest, all the grumbling, all the ruminations that arise when after we do this for a few hours, you start noticing it for yourself. Well, what are you doing? You're beginning to slow up the endless doing of your personality, the endless strategies and ways of adapting that you've habituated your system to, including the body. The body also doesn't know how to sit 2 hours. Hardly the body knows how to sit except for when it's unconscious or stoned. You know, it doesn't know how to just be still. So therefore, even the body will react or it will become the field of your battle with all its aches and pains and digestion problems and headaches and all the other symptoms as the body is slowing up and meeting the resistance of doing that. So if you're bored, congratulations. If nothing's happening, very good. When shit's happening, at least something's happening, and that relieves the ego to some extent. But when nothing is happening, and the nature of nothing happening, it's mostly from the mind. It's mostly from the evaluator that we're habituated in living in. And basically, it puts a veil over every unwanted experience, or it puts a membrane that keeps us from being in present time with what's actually happening. When we live in our head, right? Then what happens? That builds a layer and layer and layer of translucent membrane that keeps obscuring what's going on in us. So nothing happening is usually indication that you're reaching the boundary of the mind zone where it doesn't want to go, right? Who wants boredom? So it becomes an avoided experience. Who wants nothing happening? Nobody. So it becomes an avoided experience. And every time you resist, even boredom, it accumulates as a pressure. It suppresses. And therefore, the habit of that avoidance becomes the problem itself. We don't know how to deal with those parts of our lives or parts of ourselves as human beings that we've been resisting all this time, avoiding all this time, and therefore we obscure ourselves from it. We distract ourselves. We live in other worlds of imaginations, or even in the spiritual path. Our transcendent states become another strategy to avoid, can become. It also could become a place of deep rest and nurturing, but it can also become a place we go to avoid these avoided experiences, to avoid even a simple thing as boredom. Because if you look at the nature of boredom, it's like a dejection. And the Bhagavad Gita, this entire journey starts with this stripping away of the usual enjoyments of life. So boredom is a form of dejection. It's a form of, I don't know how to be with what's arising. So if you can recognize that for what it is, if you can hold that in that moment of your presence, then you can begin to penetrate that veil. You can allow for what's hidden to rise up and start learning to come beyond your fear, beyond your repulsion, become beyond the place where you assign others for the source of your experience until you're meeting that this is within me. It's not out there, it's here. In me, that is my journey, is the place I have to grow familiar with. It's the place I need to learn how to maneuver, how to sail, how to ride the current. Okay.
Okay. Be present. Being here now, in the present moment, has the power to shift our relationship with existence. It is a power that arises when we drop our habitual patterns of thinking and reacting and move into an immediate and direct relationship with what is arising without a story, judgment, or belief. Being present is how we develop presence. This quality is essential for penetrating into the remaining hidden structures and unexperienced experiences that make up the inner void we have spent our life avoiding.
Okay, so let's just take a few minutes. Be present with what's there for you. Let's be aware of what's going on in your body. Notice any energy or sensation. Be aware of what's going on in your belly, in your gut, in your heart, in your diaphragm, in your throat. Be aware of all the parts of your body. Pay attention. Let's start with the grounded reality of your body. Feel now, here, yourself in a body. Be here now with what is there in your body. Breathe consciously. Choose to inhale. Choose to exhale. So now you're in presence. Now pay attention to the sensation, to the quality that is arising in the field of your presence. That your experience of what's arising is different than your awareness of what's arising. It's as if you're the context for the content of these experiences to arise. You're the holder of the arising of you in your body, in your emotions. Notice the thoughts. If there's no thoughts, are there thoughts? Is there anybody listening when you ask that question? If no one knows what I'm saying, then you're not there. You're not having thoughts. Maybe love comes up. Maybe a bliss comes up. Maybe a current is felt in your belly or in your heart or in your throat. Maybe you feel the fire of the consciousness that's waking up due to your attention. Okay, now come back. Choose to come out of this. Right? Come back here now. Right? I'm talking, pay attention. Hello, are you there? Come here. Hi. Okay, here, back, now. Notice the difference. Notice what you just did. You were in presence and you stepped out of presence into the person. You did that. That's pointing to the power that comes innately from that reality that lives you to choose to be in presence. And then when we choose to be our person again, the presence is still there while we're being our person. Even if you have to make it up, pretend you're a person. I know some of you have to work hard to pretend you're a person, especially there in your home, in your comfortable chair, familiar environment where you meditate all the time. Yeah, you're going to go, whoo. But you're going to miss the magic and the powers and the possibilities of this adventure if you just do that. I'm informing you, I'm pointing in this time of presence, possibilities for you to discover for yourself. It's a long talk. There's a lot of pieces here. You could listen to this again and again and still not get all the teachings that are coming through. These are methods, techniques. This is the one method and technique to bring into this program. If nothing else, that. Okay. Hello?
I'm here. I'm just looking to see. We're ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Be the cause. While in this retreat, try not to assign the cause of any unwanted or negative thoughts, experiences, or sensations that may arise to something outside yourself. Instead, look inward and seek to find the source of what is arising. Enter into whatever you are experiencing by being present with it in the state of presence. Being present is the same as being in the state of presence. The now is a timeless moment and carries inherent within it the thought itself. Each time you come to cause, the thought within you is revealed.
Everything happens in the now. 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 This now, more important than the first now. Now, 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 now. This now in the immediacy of this now is where existence comes into existence. All the story of all the previous nows and all its consequences and all the things that have happened that you have forgotten, and any future nows can only happen from this now. You here right now is the only one that can be now. You're the only one that can actually choose to stop and be here now, again and again and again. Now, 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 this. No time to think, figure it out, to project, to conclude, to come to some kind of argument or story. Now, only that. After a while, the ego gives up. Gives up making a story from the past, trying to interpret it here, trying to create it here, or try to project into a future, creating that imagination to be here. Everything only happens here with you. There is no other knower or experiencer of the creation than you. Human beings are the only one that can wake up to existence. They're the only one that can recover this absolute truth. We are the only means by which that absolute truth comes into existence. So get over you. Get over the small, mean, shallow, unexamined, petty, repetitive patterns of content from the past, bringing content from a future that has not happened, and swim in this ocean of your own unwitting creation. Become the immediacy by choosing to be an immediacy, using the power of that choice to open a doorway for being. You are the cause. Whatever is arising, even if someone's yelling at you right now, like me, you have an experience in yourself that's going on simultaneously. Be with that. Because it's trying to pierce into this veil of your unconsciousness, into this veil of the ignorance you've taken on or accepted or embraced. Be uncomfortable. Be in the sensation of this now. And you will find the doorway to your freedom. You'll find the doorway to your true authority, not one conditioned by your past or an imagined future. You'll come into this quality that we're speaking of in this program. You are the cause. You're the one that can know this. You're the only one. You're not going to convince other people that you're the cause. They'll lock you up in an institution. Each of us carry a piece of this same principle. We share it all, this possibility. So when you begin to own your own process, you begin to discover that everything is arising because of your witting or unwitting consent to make it real, to believe its story, to go down the rabbit hole of that emotional pattern, or to go down and repeat the same addictive patterns your body carries in terms of preferences and sensations and experience, wanted or unwanted. You are the cause. You are the one in charge all along. And you will discover that it is your hand on the rudder that you believe has been moving your arm. You're the one that can hold the rudder when you learn to hold the now. And the power and the authority of that presence that lives with you in that moment of choice. Okay, next.
Listen to the body. It can help to put your attention on the part or parts of your body that is being impacted by these experiences. Notice where the experience is felt in your body. It may be a sensation, pressure, discomfort, pain, or numbness. Whatever comes up, try not to judge it or push it away. Just be present with it without moving or making noise for as long as possible.
So sensations, emotions, thoughts will inevitably arise. They're not unwanted in terms of this process. It is what happens as a consequence, maybe, and therefore more intensely in this process, because you have a force of truth coming in simultaneously, exaggerating even the little petty things that otherwise would be a mild irritant that you could dismiss. Things will become like very difficult to sit with emotionally, mentally, and physically. So it's very hard at first to train yourself to be in this kind of process. So what I invite you to do, starting with the body, is that if you have a pain arising or a discomfort arising, don't move. Don't try to fix it initially. Rather, enter into the location of the discomfort or the pain or the sensation. Pay attention to it, but not like you're focusing on it to kind of fix it or to change it, but just to attend to it as something arising in whatever that part of your body is. And then see if you can let go or notice first, notice your resistance to being with it, to allowing it to exist. Take 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, for as long as you can endure. And then put your attention elsewhere in your body. Do the same degree of attention where the pain was. Find the opposite symmetrical location if it's happening in your body and attend to that. And watch. All pain is made 80% worse through our resistance to the pain. Same too for discomfort. Most of these things would move very quickly if we didn't feed them through our resistance to them. So when we can learn to include a sensation or a pain from this place of presence, rather than this place of worry or problem or fixing, we discover this power to heal miraculously. Things that had persisted. Now, it's not saying it won't come back because the body is habituated, but it is this method of moving into relationship in the now with what is arising as the only thing needed. And then if after 10 seconds or a minute, it's you can't come out of the unbearableness, then go ahead, move, rub that point, find a more comfortable position, whatever it takes. But it starts introducing you to this capacity you have, but which you have not applied enough to know the reality of this capacity, to change even something as plain and simple as discomfort or aches or pains in your body. Okay, let's go on.
Okay. Pay attention. What sensations, thoughts, or feelings are you experiencing? Pay attention to them, expand them, let them fill your attention, and be with them, experiencing yourself as the cause from the past, the future, or now in the present situation.
Not attributing your experience to something outside yourself.
I skipped the whole piece.
Yes, I know. That's what you do. Your consciousness is here and then not here. Here,
Yes.
here.
Do this without taking any action.
Go ahead, continue.
The experience will begin to speak to you. It will tell you about itself. Keep listening until the sensations, experiences, or thoughts fade, disappear, or break through. This is the process of transformation. At first, this may be difficult, but as you succeed in integrating the force of the thought, it will become easier and easier.
Okay, go ahead. You can finish this
Okay.
up. Yeah.
And this is the last piece. Here are some suggestions for listening to your body. Consciously withdraw your attention from your outer circumstances. You can do this by closing your eyes or leaving them open, but not focusing on anything. Become aware of your body. Become aware of your breathing. It may help to consciously breathe. Become aware of the energy in your body. Become aware of any pressure, pain, or other sensation. Focus your attention on that. Listen to what it is saying.
And that's my instructions for you as we sit now. We're going to go into 45-minute silent sitting. So this is our entry point into the silence and stillness and the simplicity of being here now. So everything you've been seeing, hearing, receiving, let it all go. Let all this information for the moment be released. Be here in the simplicity of now, with your body, with your breath, with this now, with the quality of presence that you are at this moment. Tap into this. Learn to hold where you are right now, and now this now, and for each now. And then pay attention to just whatever is arising. Don't worry about what happens now. The intent's been set. The momentum is there. Something else will take over. You may not be able to stay conscious. That is fine. You may be sent into a process that's very uncomfortable. Stay seated. Stay where you are. Whatever may arise, know that this is walking through the doorway and traveling with me on this adventure to discover this greater truth that you are. Have faith in that. Faith, even when the evidence is saying I'm doing this wrong. Faith that knowing that even though it seems like it's not going the way it should be going, that it is, that it's just a matter of what is showing up right here, right now. It will pass. And once what passes comes again, and it too will pass. Stay in this timelessness now, the timelessness of now.